You thought being small would save you. You learned that early. Quiet, accommodating, the soft voice that soothed rooms on fire. They raised their glasses to that quiet, like it was a charm, like it was a cure. They toasted your silence and called it peace. But you remember the weight behind that stillness, don't you? You remember the hurricanes you swallowed so that their storms could pass over without leaving a mark on their shoes. You remember the nights you patched their edges and never found a seam for yourself. Listen, you were never empty. Your silence was not vacancy. Your silence was a vault. Your silence was a dam. They mistook your containment for harmlessness. They called your mercy weakness because weakness is easier to monetize. You were the lightning rod nobody noticed until the power went out. They celebrated that you stayed. They cheered because your shoulders took the weather and their schedules remained undisturbed. You were the unclaimed altar where everyone pinched a little more than they gave. And now the ledger is settling. This is not punishment. This is revelation. You, who learned to speak in nods, who learned to translate everyone's pain into a balm, who learned to be the background that made their foregrounds possible. You are the Scarlet Woman now. Not because you bowed to the world, but because you rose above it in the only language the world understands. Consequence. The books called her Crimson. Revelation painted a woman in scarlet and purple, intoxicating and terrible, riding a beast with 7 heads. They told stories of dragons and beasts, and of a woman clothed with the sun who fled into the wilderness. Those images were warnings and prophecies, and you have lived them in quiet, private acts. You were both the woman fleeing and the woman astride the beast. You know how to be both refuge and reckoning. They thought the beast was an enemy outside you. It was the architecture they built to outsource their storms. But you learned the truth. The beast lives where permission lives. You hosted their tempests, and in doing so, you apprenticed yourself to their machinery. You watched who laughed when you dimmed. You watched who called only when their needs needed containers. Each swallowed storm distilled something dangerous in you. Clarity, calculation, a border that would not be negotiated away with guilt. You did not become cruel. You became precise. They read Revelation 13 and saw a beast with power given, mouths that blasphemed, and a mark men wore to trade their souls. But you? You recognized the mark was not on your forehead. It was in their expectations. They branded you the safe harbor and sold their irresponsibility. When you finally unclipped yourself, when your silence turned from sacrificial to strategic, it was their markets that stumbled. Their ledgers cleared. Your absence balanced books. You did not mete out justice with malice. You simply stopped making profit from other people's failures. You were the woman they embroidered into tavern songs. Scarlet, bejeweled, untouchable. And the dragon wanted you gone because dragons do not like to be reflected. Revelation 12 taught of a woman in travail and a red dragon enraged. You remember how enraged they were when you stopped containing them. They came at you with accusations, distant, cold, changed. They used the only language they had left. Narrative theft. They tried to rename your survival as cruelty. You let them. You have watched them clutch at narratives like life buoys because they cannot yet sit in theirs. Hear me. Your temperance was never a public utility. Your kindness was never communal property. Your empathy is not a free pass for people to avoid the classroom of consequence. You have learned to conserve what you carry. You built walls that are not punishment, but architecture. You learned that being soft and being porous are not the same thing. You learned that listening to others until your own echo faded was not nobility. It was complicit sacrifice. So you stopped. You said no without a lecture. You left rooms mid-sentence and returned to yourself without fanfare. You withdrew access like a sovereign retracts assent, and the silence that followed was not absence. It was a design. They thought you would crack with spectacle. They expected the martyr playbook. Cry, explode, post, plead. How convenient for them that you chose a different theatre. When you did not perform their expected collapse, their models failed. They could not predict the storm that held its shape because of its restraint. You became the surgical hurricane. You arrived when necessary, precise in where you landed, and otherwise you were still like the calm before an honest weather. That calm terrifies them more than any tantrum. You carry the blood red of those prophetic women. You also carry the river that Revelation 22 promises, the life that flows from the throne. You are not just wrath or wile. You are reclamation. Where they tried to make you a monument to their comforts, you became a city rebuilding itself. You refused to intercept the lessons they owe themselves. You refused to polish their mirrors. You let them meet the thunder they once flung at you. Let them choke on the consequences of their own storms. This is not cruelty. This is realignment. This is the universe operating on ledger and law, not on your free labor. You were the saint whose charity was weaponized. You are now the sovereign who sets terms. You still possess the eyes that see too much. You still hear the tremor beneath bravado. But now you pair that seeing with selection. You give access like a holy thing. You withdraw like a gate. Where once your forgiveness was endless, now it is qualified. Where once you covered and carried, now you let gravity be a tutor. They will rage at you for learning the curriculum of preservation. They will call you heartless and cold because they used warmth as leverage. They will miss the person, the easy scapegoat, the sponge they owned. Let them miss it. Their missing is the space you needed. You are the scarlet woman on the scarlet beast who does not ride to their music. You are the woman clothed with sun who chose the wilderness on her own terms. You are the river and the throne both. Life for those who build, judgment for those who leak. Your silence is now strategy. Your boundaries are now laws. Your love is now a covenant with yourself rather than a contract with takers. So breathe into the fact that you kept too much and now keep what is yours. Let your quiet be a precursor to design. Let your absence be a curriculum for them. Let your return, if any, be on your terms. When you finally speak, it will not be to explain or to plead. It will be to declare direction. When you move, it will not be to chase but to construct. You are not small. You are the town they feared would no longer be their dumping ground. You are the scarlet and the sanctuary, the warning and the water. Hold that image. You, scarlet and stern, smiling because you remember precisely what you carried and why you will carry it no longer. Your silence is no longer a hole. It is a chamber of potential. Your storms have been catalogued and repurposed. You have become the apocalypse they could not read and the mercy they did not deserve. Rise then, not as their martyr, but as your own cathedral. Let the beast they once rode for convenience realize too late that the rider has learned the map. You are the storm they can no longer outsource. You are the altar they can no longer desecrate. They toasted your silence. Now they will taste the air you no longer inhale for them. Your evolution is the end of that era. Your balance is the beginning of yours.